and search for the word multidisciplinarity, okay, you will find that it appears 71 times. So they started all this thing that you hear is that national open school, open universities and others. When you are strong, you are not afraid because the world is a much bigger play field for everybody. In some sense, we are very lucky that we get.
Diving into the question, we would just like to have a brief idea about what you think, how the education system has evolved so far. I mean, when you were a student, things were definitely different. So what do you think has changed majorly, and if it's changed for good or bad?
So let's look at probably a history, because I don't know how many of you like history. It gives you a nice perspective to what is happening. And one that I would say that is the first time there was some kind of a national level kind of a policy that came up that then we need to do something about education as a whole, right? And then the first, I would say the major one, okay, if you may say that NEP 0, if you want in that sense, okay, was something called a guy called Lord Macaulay, okay? I don't know whether you heard his name. So it's around 1835, okay? That was the first time they realized that, what would be the type of education that they should provide in India, what kind of preparation that is required. And also it's unfortunate, the person, Lord Macaulay at that time made a very, very disparaging comments about the Indian knowledge system, okay, which is very well documented, saying that, whatever the knowledge that India had so far can be stored in like half a in any British library, which was very, very, I would say, stupid comment for a person like him. But the fact is, despite that, he actually planned out quite a few things in terms of what kind of education to be done, okay, which was around 1882. By the time, it's no longer East India Company, it's under the Queen, British Queen, if you remember, right, the British Empire. Was that they said that education has to be decentralized. It should not be like, based on Wood's dispatch, they suggested that we should have universities. See, that was another thing. So we had these three major universities, Calcutta University, Mumbai University, those days used to be called Bombay University, and Madras University. So they got established. So education formalized. So I think I would say it's a formalization of proper education. Then came around 82-3 is something called the Hunter Commission. See, what they said is, education is too much concentrated and, you need to decentralize at the lower level. You have to go to the district and municipal level because there are kids in the small areas. So not everything can be controlled by certain presidencies, okay? So education now you have district level and our level, different kind of decentralization that happens. So that means it can reach to the mass, even to the the rural areas or whatever the municipal areas that education can reach. So now see, the reason I am putting up is that you see that how things get developed, okay, with time. Then I would say the last one on the British time, which was very another one was the Sadler Commission, which was around 1917 and 18. Okay, so this was mostly about the university education. So what happened was that after setting up those three universities, later on they had Punjab University or I think Allahabad University, but they needed a formal structure of all these universities. So that happened under Sadler Commission, and that created something what you see even few years ago, even now, that called the, all these universities become like one big entity, and other than you have all these affiliated colleges, too many colleges, all of them, coming under that. So it's a very centralized structure that you see today. So this was pretty much during the British time. And you see that the reason I'm saying that whenever we talk about the national education policy, we'll come to this kind of thing. See, then afterwards in India, first NEP, that is the national education policy, was sometime I think it's 1968. Okay. Yeah, so that was the first education thing, and that happened, it was like the Kothari Commission and all. So it was, I would say that, the first time they said that education is something that adds value to the nation. We have to create manpower at the highest level. And see, remember, during the British time itself, we said that the education has to be the state's responsibility. Okay. So they suggested that we should have 6% of our GDP should be earmarked to help the education. Unfortunately, what happened? The Indian, the poverty was so all-pervading. So basically, the government could never go to that level. Okay. So even today, it's around 3%, not 6%. But the view was there. Even today, if you look at the NEP 2020, they are also suggesting 6%, which is young, and we call it demographic dividend. See, they start paying dividends only when they have been trained, they are productive, and to make them productive, we as a nation, we have to invest. Okay, and that's where the investment they're talking about. Okay. Then the second NEP that happened was around 1986. Sorry, 1986, not 1886, so 1986. And there were some modifications later on around 92. But that actually gave a lot of emphasis on the primary education. Okay. And also they realized that we have a lot of leftover people who are not literate. They have become much older. So we have to put something on adult literacy, right? So they started all these things that you hear is that national open school, open universities and others, that apart from your regular schooling, there are opportunities for these people to actually learn something. Okay. So that's how, so that was the second one. And then afterwards, we had to wait for a long time to come to the third one, which is the current one. That is the 2020.
The NEP proposes that all higher education institutes shall aim to become multidisciplinary, offering holistic and multidisciplinary education. If you take the example of IITs, they already offer diverse humanities and design courses. Will promoting these disciplines even more be a good decision?
Okay, so first of all, you have gone through the document. Okay, so you can open it up in PDF and search for the word multidisciplinarity. Okay, you will find that it appears 71 times. Okay, and the place, this is for a short document, it's a huge number of occurrences. So what it means that there has been a lot of emphasis on the disciplinarity aspects. Okay, interestingly, the whole concept of university and other, of course, means it is not like one particular area. Okay, you have to look at very old perspective. When you go to a Gurukul in earlier days, so you go to one particular teacher and try to learn as much as the guru knows. Okay, what happens is that that particular, so nowadays that guru, if I call a domain, one domain of knowledge you are getting. So when you move to an university system, you are not going to one particular teacher, right? Each teacher brings his or her own your understanding of certain knowledge, right? So you expand in terms of your exposure to that variety of knowledge that is available by bringing in a lot of people. Okay, and let's say when in IIT, when you have a curriculum, we say, okay, so many things you said, take it from the department, then you have so many electives. So we are trying to increase that, right? So when we talk about the multidisciplinary, so you have to realize that particularly this is important from the engineering perspective, because see, when you develop a system, you build something new, one set of knowledge for a particular topic is not always lead you to the first solution, right? Even if, let's say, particularly nowadays, if you solve something, so you need to know several areas. Okay, so you need to have exposure over multiple areas, and that's the emphasis. Now, of course, it should not be again jack of all trade and master of none. Okay? So what you have to do, we want our people that you should become like a pick in one or two areas, but you should have some good idea about the other areas, related areas, so that if I want, let's say, you want Laksh is in area A, whereas Prakriti I was talking to earlier is in area B. So she has done excellently in C. Okay. So what I would do is that I know A, you know B, and Laksh knows C, right? So together, if I have to define, come up with a new product, I'll probably need all three. So I would know whom to contact, how to set up. I would be actually in a talking language with you. So that's the importance of multidisciplinary. Okay, I think this has been your question. So we try to provide. And second thing, another one, you have to also look at the humanities. See, humanities knowledge, you may not be required for product development, but you need to create your perspective. Okay, when you create a product, it's not just the product alone, it's usage and what effect it has over the population, right? So everything for that, also your own enrichment. See, music, okay, literature, this is also a very enriching experience for your own existence. You cannot read all the time the same, okay? So this is very important, and I'm very happy to see that the NEP has given that emphasis quite well, okay? Of course, it's a policy document. The implementation issues remain with us. Is that okay?
Yes. So moving forward, as stated in the NEP, India has lost over 50 regional languages, which leads to loss of culture and identity. To tackle this, the government proposes to introduce artists in residence and bilingual medium of instruction in higher education institutes to expose students to art, creativity, and the rich treasures of a country. How do you think this is going to affect the education standards of the higher education institutes?
So, see, no matter what you do, it should not affect the quality of education. See, you have to look at this. There are several aspects. So, appreciation of your local language, your culture, art, all of them, they have a value. The society, your civilization gets developed over time, and your local culture, language, everything is basically a canvas on which our ancestors have written down their knowledge, their learning. So we should have an appreciation. So that is what is being talked about, that we should appreciate. Okay. Now, of course, certain languages and others, because of there are two kinds of things. You see, one we call it the local aspects, other is the global aspects. We want to preserve certain things locally, but at the same time we should be globally competitive, right? So we talk about we should have a global market, and things like education, and also there has to be a globalization, certain things to be done. So there is always a compromise between local and global. Okay, so it does happen that they're also driven by certain markets. Okay, so if I have to have our something to be studied and others a language which is spoken by a very small number of people, the economics of that sometimes doesn't work out unless it has to be very, very well funded by some kind of thing, which for a country like India is very difficult. Okay, because we have to remember it's a resource constrained country. Okay, so it's a good thing because you appreciate that, and that way what happens, you also, by having people who are in the neighborhood, who are with the similar culture, you are also helping them, because when you learn technology, you tell them that you should evolve. See, our culture also evolves. So by staying with us, we are not freezing the culture. Culture will also evolve and we will be part of it. Is that okay?
Yes, that was really nice. So now, taking the session ahead, it's a general perception that students in many engineering colleges in India face intense competition and lack basic empathy and a helping nature for their fellow peers. Do you find this notion correct with respect to our institute? Also, the NEP aims at developing ethical values and character. Do you think compulsory courses on ethics and morals be introduced?
See, there is a word called greatness. Okay. So when you are very good, right? You know that, I am competing. Let's say you are also mechanical, Prakriti also mechanical. You are competing fiercely with Prakriti for, let's say, number 1 slot in the department. Okay? Of course, you should fight. There is no issue on that. But you have to realize that she is an individual and she has to be respected for her own strength, right? So even though academically I may be competing fiercely with her, but that doesn't prevent you from being very good friend with her. Okay? As a matter of fact, if she misses some few lectures, you should be the first one to say, look, okay, here are the missing lecture notes. Okay, you should take, because when you want to fight with her and you want to, let's say, defeat her, okay, in CPI or whatever, you want to do it saying that, look, I help you whatever and you help me whatever. Finally, let's the best among us win. Okay? And I have a feeling, I have seen many of the IIT, in some sense, we are very lucky that we get a lot of very good, very high quality students. Okay? And I have seen that they do help each other. Okay? So even though, when you are weak, you are afraid of others. But when you are strong, you are not afraid, because the world is a much bigger play field for everybody. Okay? If Prakriti is good, okay, of course, she will do wonderfully well, and so will you. So you have no reason to be unnecessarily, vindictive of saying, no, I will not help Prakriti. And same thing for Prakriti, because I know this, okay, together you can do even bigger things. So what you are saying makes sense, possibly, when your students and the ambience is not good. Okay? And this is the culture that we want to invite. Okay? Have you seen some old days movie or something, right? When you show like some of the big fighters, okay, how they used to fight. Okay? So let's say once someone's sword has fallen, the other guy would say, okay, go pick up. I don't want to fight, when you are unarmed, right? So you have to see that that's the greatness that, the history also shows. We remember Shora Rustam, have you heard of that? So there was a famous, father and son who did not know each other. It's a great story that actually depicts the greatness of such kind, the strength of individual, your faith. I know I am good, so that's why I should help. Okay?
That was really insightful. Moving on, to improve the quality and vocabulary of Indian languages, the government has proposed to establish IITIs, which are Indian Institutes of Translation and Interpretation, which will be housed in various higher education institutes. What are your views on this, and do you think IIT Bombay can also have one in its campus?
So I don't know whether you know that IIT Bombay has a Sanskrit cell. We have very distinguished professors, who are doing very well in Sanskrit. We also have something like our the natural language group has also done a lot of work on the creating corpora for various Indian languages. So it's an interpretation of how you do it. Okay, like let's say for example in CAC we have Professor Pushpa Bhattacharya in his group. So they help in a very technical way of the different linguistic relationship, the relationship among different Indian languages as well as the Indo-European languages. So it doesn't mean that, you simply follow the same thing. We have our certain strength, okay, say computer science or certain other kind of systemic, this one. We'll use it and to see that what can be done. Because there are a lot of things to even, there are international schools which actually maintain Sanskrit corpora. Okay, so if it is like this, so we are already doing quite a few of work. Now it may be, but some of the other institutes may not be doing it. And we'll see that if we can leverage and connect with some other institute and improve even whatever you are doing, that will be wonderful. Okay?
So let's talk about another dimension of the policy. The NEP also stresses on the point that measures would be taken to ethics about equalizing the standards with foreign universities. As we know, IIT Bombay also has a handful of foreign students. Is it important to attract foreign students to IITs? And what do you think will be the driving factors for foreign students to pursue higher education in India?
Okay, see, there are two aspects you have to look at. Why do you have foreign students? Even I am told that when you had the earlier days in India, Nalanda and Takshila, there was a large number of people who came from abroad to learn, because in the whole neighborhood, there was no other concept of university or such proper education, right? And even now, let's say a large number of Indians go abroad because they find that they are not getting enough opportunities in India for higher studies. So if you look at IITs as such, okay, we get a fairly large number of students, and it's extremely competitive for us to get, the students we want. Supposing, we have enough resources to expand our number, okay, we will get even more number of very good students. So getting student is not the issue here, okay. See, once a student comes in here, whether foreigner or in India, they'll be treated just like students. So if the number of students is what is concerned, that's not the issue. We'll get any number of them. Now, the second thing that many people they talk about is that foreign students, they bring in a kind of a diversity and a kind of a global perspective for the people who are already in. Okay? So when, let's say, supposing a person from US comes here and takes, like say, some degree from IIT Bombay, in some sense, he or she becomes our ambassador in US, okay? Because if we provide a good education, good ambience, he will be everywhere say, oh, this is the IIT Bombay is the place, that's where you should go, okay? Now, so they would be lifelong indebted to us, okay? And our students also find out, what about their lifestyle, how do they do things, okay, how do they work, their work ethics. So there is benefit, okay, definitely in doing it. But in certain cases, this is required because they need diversity. See, like we want among the student population, so certain amount of diversity. And why? Because that gives you a lot of kind of learning experience. See, when you are in your class or in your hostel, some of them are rich, very rich, some of them are very poor, some of them are excellent academically, some of them are not so excellent, okay? Some of them look different, some of them something to tell, some of them speak language A, some of them language B, right? So we know that all of us are different, and yet there is something that binds us together. So we have to learn how to live harmoniously and make use of it through diversity. So if you look at the diversity point of view, IITs are pretty much cosmopolitan in that sense, because we get students from and faculty members both from all over India. Now, just for the number, we don't need foreigners for sure, okay? But it does add a value. And if you look at the masters, see, there are certain things we cannot do because, because India is also resource highly constrained. We don't have too many opportunities for all our students to come to IIT or something equivalent. So if I have to let go certain positions, would we give it to our own Indian students or to the foreigner? So that's also a point you have to look into that, right? Because the state is paying for it, right? Your taxpayers' money. So these are the issues we should look into it, so that at the end of it, you see that, we have also we don't want our students, because in the global world, not to have an experience with somebody from a different land. So some kind of foreign students in the campus, which happens particularly as an exchange students and in some cases as a master's and PhD students. We do have it. I don't see right now that there is a need to expand it very difficultly at the cost of our own internal students. Okay, if we can additionally create opportunities for them, yes, good, but not at the cost of our domestic students. Yes.
We at NSS have several initiatives that cater to the education of underprivileged children, and we are working hard to do what we do in these precedented times. So we have an initiative called OLI, Open Learning Initiative, where our volunteers create educational videos in over 9 regional languages. And these are
9 languages.
Yeah, 9 regional languages. And these are then uploaded on the OLI YouTube channel. The channel recently crossed 1 crore views with over 1.2 lakh subscribers. So
that's excellent.
As NEP emphasizes on online education, how big a role do you think OLI can play in this part? Is there any improvement we can do from our side?
See, it's certain things. If it is online and others, we should also make use of technology. Okay. See, for example, I'm not sure about right now you are doing over Zoom, but let's say, for example, if I do on Google Meet, okay, you have a button where it can actually transcribe in script whatever I say, so you can actually write it down. Okay. Similarly, I have seen that some if you have in one language, somebody can read it out. Now automatic translation. Right now you are doing possibly manually. Right now certain things can be done. Okay, so technology, what it does, maybe it may not be 100% correct, but supposing it's 80 or 90% correct, so it removes your 90% of your level. Okay, and so number one, you should make use of technology. And the second thing that you look at it is that, see, you have to understand that in India, unfortunately, even after 70 odd years of independence, the divide is not going away. Okay, divide could come in many different ways, but so whatever it is, we are not able to bridge the gap. Okay, but you have to realize that if India has to go up, our collectively we have to go up. Even one section of people, if they are not going up, the entire country suffers, because see, finally the true potential of the country would be unleashed when each and every part of all sections of our Indian population, they go up in the value chain, right? So this is, what would be the agenda for all of us in some sense to help, at least one person can help one or somebody more. So I'm very happy to see that, NSS, you are doing this, okay? Because when you uplift one of them, then that person in turn would probably have the family and others would uplift his or her family. And then maybe in a couple of generations, the entire thing would move forward, okay? Now, in the new education that, the policy that you see, it does improve, say that there is a lot of emphasis on learning in the local language. As I told, I gave you the historical perspective even before, right? It was always said that, you look at the Woods Dispatch and others. So this was put forward because it was understood. So my power, true power, can be harnessed by not suppressing my mother tongue or any other language in which I am comfortable. Okay? So this NEP provides that. But at the same time, see, it takes you to somewhere. Okay, you have to understand that but when you want to compete globally, nowadays all our, let's say, if you look at the purchases, others, anybody from anywhere can sell your product, other things, right? So when you talk about the globalization, you cannot be very protective. So our workforce also has to learn to a language they can talk to somebody else. So you need a global language also. And India being a country where there is so much of diversity, we need one more language where at least I could talk to somebody else. See, if you are like, let's say Ahmed, I cannot talk to him in Malayalam, right? So I need some other language to talk to him, right? So that happens more as you go up the value chain, because in the bottom of the pyramid, I may not require it. But as I go up and up, then I need to do. So I need to have this. That's why this 3 language for a country like India. Whereas if you look at in some other countries, it may be 2 languages. Some of them, let's say in Scandinavia, Germany and others, let's say you do local as well as 1 language like English. Okay. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. NEP emphasizes a lot on experimental and hands-on method of learning, and NGOs may not be able to efficiently deal with this change. As NSS has good relations with NGOs, and we have helped several kids in the nearby slums, how do you think we as IIT students can contribute in this part?
So, see, it's a good question. See, what happened typically, our education has been blamed, and you might have seen in this NEP, they use the word called rote learning, okay, which is almost all over. Our school education system in India has not been very good. It doesn't, generate the curiosity, the inquisitiveness in the people. So I'm not saying that higher education is any better, by the way, but this is how you start in your early life, the school education, primary education. So people should, at the end of the day, feel, oh, this is the fun. There is a fun in learning. So when you take the fun part out, it becomes dull and boring. And intellectually, whatever your intellectual level, you should be exposed to, ask questions. People should ask questions. And one of the way to do it is through doing experiments on others. Okay? Because sometimes what happens is that all people are not very good in abstract thinking. See, mathematicians are very good. They don't need anything. Okay? But if you want somebody else, so you need some kind of work. You show them that this is something you try to do. And then automatically it raises questions. So why is this? Oh, I see there is something like a circle with a groovy thing. So they may not know it's a gear or something. What does it do? I mean, once they start seeing activity, questions will come. Why some of them are small when 2 of them are connected? Why one of them big, one of them small, while sometimes they're all similar? What does it mean? So people will start asking questions. Okay. So these questions then become truly meaningful. So that's how I think, even if you look at, there is something called Jiddu Krishnamurti School of education, if you can just find out, okay, where you learn by doing something. But at the same time, how many things can you do? Not all the times you may not be able to do everything, because certain things you have to go at a higher level. So for these things, I would say that you can start with like a virtual lab is possible. Okay, there is something called if you can create, of course, because nowadays with a lot of nice graphics engine and others, you can do a lot of such 3D models, you can show them. And if you can tell them, and if you can do it on yourself, like a slider and others, where you show, okay, I changed this, the gear size I changed, what happens, how it moves. So you can do this simple experiment, and the people would automatically then ask questions. So I am sure this, some of you in IIT, you can actually look it up and give it to the students, learn it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So similarly, if somebody has some good idea, you talk to professors. We have, by the way, a virtual laboratory being run by Professor Santosh Narona in chemical engineering. So if you need help, you can ask him, and I'm sure that he may be able to help you also.
So moving forward, we have an initiative called Ummeed. It was recently launched last semester, where we cater to the educational requirements of the kids of our working staff. For example, construction workers and mess workers, etc. Given the pandemic, we are somehow managing to conduct online sessions for them, and additionally, we are also trying to mentor them for various other issues they might be facing besides academics. What do you think about this initiative, and is there anything we could do to improve further?
So again, I would say, just like the previous case, now here you are helping for a group of very select group of people who face extreme hardship. There are two kinds of hardship that these people feel, they face rather, and which got very, very, I think serious during this COVID time, because many of these workers were badly hurt because almost everything shut down. There is a migrant and things like this. Now, you have to look at their life, and many of them in India, the good thing about in India is that even though we do not have access to proper education and others, still there is a love for most people for something who does well in education, okay? And even, let's say, those who are from the poor part of the society, they feel that their kids should go to good school, they should clear it, so that at the end of it, okay, they can see that their life improves. So they value education. So even though we have not been able to provide good education, the concept, the respect for education exists in the minds of all Indians. I think this is irrespective of where they are from, which strata of the society they are from. Now, this particular sector that you are talking about as our construction workers, even inside the IIT, we have a lot of construction workers. So, see, for them, many of them are ambulatory, because today the construction is happening here in IIT campus. After 1 year or 2 years, this construction will be over. They would move to somewhere else, okay? And so see what happens, their needs are little different from some of them who are, sedentary in some areas, so you can plan for them. So these people need a different type of planning, okay? Understanding that even though you started the hand-holding when they were in IIT, but they left, okay? Because now they may be in the Hisar, because they may be in doing something, some other construction job, and they have taken the entire family. So in that case, can you continue to stay engaged and provide the help? Okay. Similarly, of course, the new people will come. So your plan of action should look into the kind of things that this particular job sector demands on their parents. Okay. Then I think it will be a very successful thing. I think it's a very noble thing that you people are doing. And I think it will help, because you understand that if out of every family, okay, or maybe out of 5 family, if you take 1 or 2 kids out of this to college and beyond, then they come out of that and they get into the better part of the society by providing more benefit in terms of creation of value to the society. So they should be encouraged, and you should help whatever way you can. I think it's very good. Okay, so thank you all of you. Have a good day. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you again, sir, for giving us your precious time and sharing your views. And it was indeed a great session. Have a great day, sir.